How's it going, everybody? Welcome back for episode 17 of Free Thoughts from Freedom Chiropractic and Rehab. Thanks for joining us. This week's quote of the week comes from William Raspberry. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the Washington Post, and he said, "And yes, words matter. They may reflect reality, but they also have the power to change reality, the power to uplift, and the power to base." Now, I think of it this way. The words, the language that we use to describe things impact our thoughts about those things, whether we're talking about ourselves or others. But those thoughts, they drive our actions, and our actions change our outcomes. So we want to make sure that we're using the proper language and the right choice of words to create the outcomes that we're looking for, rather than creating negative outcomes. Now, as a side note, Mr. Raspberry was actually the commencement speaker when I graduated from the University of Delaware a long time ago. So I wanted to share this quote because I think it's important that we're careful with the words that we choose to use. All right, let's talk about health. So this week I want to go into another concept that I took from that podcast that was a 4-hour conversation between Andrew Huberman and Pavel Tsatsouline. In the middle of their conversation, they talked about the difference between what Americans tend to do in the gym and how Pavel thinks of it. So we Americans tend to go to the gym to, quote, work out. You hear people say this all the time. The idea of working out has a connotation with it, though. Most people feel like when they go to the gym to work out, they have to, empty the tank. They have to do, the crazy stuff in the gym and do work as hard as they can for 60 minutes. Pavel's approach, he talks about more training or practice. So think about it. When you think about training, I think about I'm training for an event coming up. So there's two things that matter there. One, I'm not going to redline because I don't want to run the risk of injury. And two, I want to think about leaving something in the tank so I can do this again tomorrow. So I'm not depleting my energy so much or making my body so sore that I can't do this again tomorrow, because I want to keep training for the event that's coming up, whether it's a 5K or a powerlifting meet or whatever the case may be. And as I think about practice, I talk with my kids all the time about how I'm training for longevity now. So when I exercise, the goal is so that when I'm 75, I can do whatever I want. So the last thing I want is an injury. The last thing I want is to redline to the point where I can't do it again tomorrow, because it's the long game. I'm not training for the short game. I'm not worried about what I look like on, or what the scale tells me, or what I look like in the mirror right now. I'm worried about the long game. So think about it. Let's talk about food, the power of these words, right? So many people will tell me I can't eat that because it's not on my diet. I'm on keto, so I can't have those carbs. Or I'm a carnivore, so I can't eat this. I want you to think about food as fuel. Let's put the best fuel in our body. So think about it that way, rather than my diet restricts me from eating this. It's I'm choosing to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables as opposed to frozen foods because it's better fuel for my body. If you change the way you think about these things by changing the language around it, you have a better chance of making good choices. So choose your language wisely when it comes to making health decisions. Now it's time for some good news. So just this week, the NIH announced that they were working with some of the large food companies in our country to accelerate the timeline to remove synthetic food dyes from our food. The plan is to remove red 40, yellow 5, blue 1 and 2, citrus red 2, and orange B. Now, you may be wondering why this is important. Well, we just talked about the fact that food is fuel. We don't want any synthetic coloring in our food. We don't need that, right? It's there to sell more food because it makes the food look better, but it doesn't make it taste any different. And it's been linked to obesity, diabetes, hyperactivity, and mood disorders. It's even been linked to cancer. So kudos to you, NIH. We appreciate you doing the hard work to get rid of these things from our food. We don't need them. They serve no purpose. Let's get rid of them sooner rather than later.